Tim Cahill is considered to be Australia's most famous soccer player. He has made it internationally and has been awarded many awards in regards to his efforts as a soccer player. Tim Cahill was filtered through the sports delivery systems of soccer to develop into the player that he is today. He wrote his autobiography Legacy, which was published in 2015. In this vodcast, I will be examining the sports delivery systems which enabled Tim to get to the level of prestige he was able to achieve. As said in a lecture by Dr. Olin Scott, there is no overall meaning for what sport delivery systems actually are. However, it can be explained as the time when various agencies combine, create competitions, and contribute to the delivery of sport for all. The agencies involved, the competitions created, and the services provided to participants enable participants to get to whatever level they aspire to reach. Sport delivery systems essentially aim to broaden the access to a particular sport and promote participation, and from this participation from the general public, produce elite athletes. It is important to understand these systems so that the facilities and funding are able to be directed to the correct areas of need. The pyramid displayed, found in the textbook for this course, visualizes the various levels at which one can participate in a given sport and how they are then able to progress through the various levels until they get to the top. Tim Cahill experienced a vast range of sport delivery systems. Many of these were not in Australia. I will examine why this is throughout the vodcast. Tim was involved in many competitions and participated in major events. He was pushed through the sport delivery systems of soccer to become the amazing player that he is. From a young age, Tim Cahill was immersed in the world of soccer. He says in his autobiography that he can't remember a time when he wasn't dreaming of football. This was because his dad was a fanatic of the game. He remembers missing school because him and his dad had stayed up late watching the Premier League games. Tim was 4 years old when he started playing soccer, for a team called the Balmain Police Tigers, where his passion began. As shown in blue on the example of soccer levels that Tim went through, it is a different colour as he never actually competed at a national level in Australia. However, he did in England, for the Premier League. Soccer is a sport that can combine both the finals tournament and round-robin competition formats. A round-robin competition is often dependent on the availability of facilities, teams and players, which is often a boundary for smaller clubs. Tim Cahill represented Australia in the 2006, 2010 and 2014 World Cup competitions. The FIFA World Cup uses group round-robin competition format, followed by a finals competition. The round-robin is broken up into 8 groups from a selection of 32 teams, where they gain points based on their number of wins, losses and draws. From this, they are then provided with a winner and runner-up who progress to the next stage, where they verse the winners and runners-up from the other groups to determine one final winner. This is a knockout-based finals tournament, as once you have lost, you are out of the competition. This was used in the FIFA World Cup 2014. I was able to find this information in the Journal of Quantitative Analysis in Sport. A combination of these formats is the sort of competition layout that was most familiar to Tim. Other events and competitions such as the FA Cup, Major Soccer League, Confederations Cup, AFC Asian Cup, Premier League and Oceania Football Confederation Nations Cup, all of which Tim was involved in, all use similar sporting competition formats. As a junior, the competition format of round-robin would have been quite beneficial to Tim's development as a player, as he was able to see what he was up against in talent and skill. However, this could also serve as a detriment as other players involved may have lost hope when another team beat them. But Tim was a confident and competent player. He looked at any player better than him as one who he strived to be better than. He got better the more he realised he was not the best. At a junior level, Tim was involved in teams such as the Marrickville Red Devils, the Balmain Tigers, Lakembla Soccer Club, and then Sydney Olympic Football Club. In his junior years, he played at a representative level for the Canterbury Region representative team and the Primary School Sport Association League. At Sydney Olympic, he went for a trial for their youth team. He was unfortunate not to be selected. Most players would have focused on this as a negative, but in his later life, he states that he has seen this as a positive, as he never would have joined the Belmore Hercules, a club that was in a lower division than Sydney Olympic. By doing this, it gave him the opportunity to improve his game and play for their first team at the age of 15. At the age of 16, he then left the Australian soccer system for the system in England to fulfil his dream of playing in the Premier League. 16 years old, and he attended his trials for Millwall, where he not only got an offer for Millwall in the second division, but also an offer for Nottingham Forest, which was in the Premier League. The lesson he learned from Sydney Olympic, which helped him in this situation, was that it is better for him to go with Millwall, as he knew he was not ready to be a player for First Division. He made his professional debut in 1998 for Millwall. This was the start of his professional career, leading him to signings with Everton in the Premier League, playing for Australia, moving into the Major League with the New York Red Bulls, until now where he plays for Shanghai Shenhua Football Club. All of these clubs have been presented to him as building blocks of the sport development process, which, as we learnt in a lecture by Dr. Olin Scott, is creating pathways for people to progress in sport from learning early foundation skills to achieving the highest levels of excellence. Tim's core development was developed in his junior years through to his junior representative and senior levels. Soccer teams were not the only ones responsible for his development. He played indoor soccer called futsal, which Tim believed was highly significant in his technical development, as it is a game where the spaces are tighter, the action is quicker, and it requires a player to develop a greater sense of touch and ball control. He also had a mentor, Johnny Doyle, who played professionally at a centre forward position for various teams, and at the end of his playing career he coached in Australia for high levels. Johnny Doyle was an important part to Tim's development as a player, as he was able to change Tim's game from a single-footed player to being able to play with both feet, and teaching him the art of a perfect header. The institution of sport was another integral part to Tim's development. The Institute of Sport was able to teach Tim how to jump more explosively, and they changed the way he ran, which made him able to get in front of a player to receive a pass. Without these extra institutions and people, he would not have developed the game that he now has. I believe that Tim Cahill had a relative understanding of the sports delivery systems for soccer. He knew well enough that the opportunities that the systems in Australia provided would not develop him into the player he aspired to be, which is why he moved to England at the start of his professional career to live out his dream of playing in the Premier League. If Tim Cahill did not understand the sports delivery systems of soccer, he may have stayed in Australia. Through doing this assignment, I have learned, when referring to soccer, the sports delivery systems available in Australia are quite limited if you wanted to make it professionally. On the world stage, the Australian football system is not held with such prestige as one in England. Soccer is delivered on various levels, through school sport, local and club teams, representative levels, through to national and international. To filter your way through the levels, you must develop your skills in the early junior years and keep on trying out for the best teams. However, from looking at Tim Cahill's story, I have realised that going and playing for the best team can sometimes be detrimental for the player, as they may be held back as they're not the best in the team. So playing at a lower level where you get a greater chance to play the game is a great opportunity to build your skills as a player. Sport delivery systems in Australia for soccer do contribute to the delivery of sport for all, by developing pathways for everyday people to become elite. Overall, I think Tim Cahill was exposed to various sports delivery systems, both in Australia and England. This means he was able to progress through the various levels of participation to get to the high level he is at now. Throughout the analysis of Tim Cahill's autobiography legacy, I have been able to see how the sport development opportunities through the sport delivery systems of soccer enabled him to maximise his potential as a soccer player.